Good evening. Welcome to the Springford Area School Board meeting. Today is April 28th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Springford Board of School Directors believes the community has the right to bring before the board issues and concerns they may have about items on the agenda or about items in general which affect the district or their children. Because of this belief and philosophy, the board will schedule a time at the beginning and conclusion of every meeting to have an opportunity for community members to share their concerns with the board. At the start of the meeting, members from the public may comment on agenda items only. The school board will move through the meeting agenda, then at the end, when prompted, there will be a time for public comment. This meeting is being filmed to be broadcast on community cable channels and online. Individuals intending to make public comments should be aware that they are being filmed. Speakers will be asked to state their name and the area in which you reside before your comment.
Thank you. Hello, good evening, welcome. Ms. Krug, could we please have a roll call?
Yes, in person this evening, we have Mr. Lackey, Mrs. Weingarten, Mrs. Westwood, Mrs. Hermans, Mrs. Deerdorf, Mr. Jackson, Dr. Wright, and on Zoom, we have Mrs. Goldsmith.
Thank you. And Mrs. Goldsmith, just as I was attempting to do for Ms. Westwood last week, I will do my best to defer to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to jump in.
Thank you.
Okay, as far as announcements go, we did hold an exec session previous to the start of this meeting to discuss personnel matters. Mr. Rizzo, do you have anything?
No, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Murray for sitting in the seat last week when I feverishly was trying to get back here from Tennessee. So thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to public comment. This is on agenda items only. If anyone wishes to speak, please approach a podium with your name, township of residence, as well as the agenda item for which you are speaking. And also, as a reminder, please sign your name on the sign-in sheet. Seeing as though no one is approaching the podium, we'll move on to our presentation. However, I will say that Ms. Stein did notify us this morning that she was not going to be available today. So we will be postponing this presentation until next month when we can celebrate her.
Correct. That'll happen at the work session.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to board and committee reports, we'll start with the MCIU. Dr. Wright.
Thank you. I will have the report for next week, or next meeting. I don't have the minutes yet from it.
Thank you. Mrs. Weingarten, the Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center.
Yes, thank you. The Western Montgomery Career and Technology Center, JOC, met on April 7th. Mr. David Livingood met with Gilbert Architects, and they will provide WMCTC with a feasibility study without charge. And Mr. Livingood has given them until the end of the year to complete that task. Marlboro Elementary School had the carpentry class students build a wall to paint a mural, and the students enjoyed that experience of an off-site job, and the principal was very pleased with their work. It's always nice to hear about our Western Tech students getting out and making a difference in our schools and the community, so that was a very cool project to see and hear about. We are now able to receive dual credit through Penn College in welding and electrical. News has been coming in about the tariffs, indicating that this could cause a rise in pricing on supplies. So you realize the tech center uses a lot of things like copper, hair supplies, electrical supplies, wood, and such. So we are, as always, watching our spending very closely and trying to get ahead of any impact that might have. And as usual this time of year, applications to join the Western Montgomery Career and Technical Center applications were closed on March 15th. So we had, let me pull these numbers for you. We had 286 applications, 220 students were accepted, and as you know, the typical problem we have each year is that we get way more applications than seats available. So approximately 64 students are waitlisted at this time. And to give you perspective, Of those students, 80 students from Springford were accepted. So that's always very, very exciting. And I'll make it short and sweet. Our April 30th is the NOCT Performance Day, May 1st is their field day, and May 5th is our next JOC meeting at 7 p.m. Any questions? If not, that concludes the report.
No
Thank
qu-
you.
No questions. Mrs. Goldsmith, as you sit on the JOC, I just wanted to see if you had any comment or questions.
I did not.
Okay, thank you. I will make one comment. I did have the opportunity to go to the Western Center and attend the senior co-op banquet. So for those that don't know, if you attend the Western Montgomery Center in your senior year, depending on grades, attendance, and some other criteria, you have the opportunity to go actually out into the workforce for half a day and specialize in your area and earn real money. And so there was a celebratory lunch for all the seniors along with their employers. And I just want to, again, thank all the local employers who support the Western Center and provide our students these opportunities, and congratulations to all the seniors for a successful co-op. Okay. With that said, we'll move on to Mrs. Westwood, the Legislative Committee.
Good evening. The Legislative Committee met on April 2nd at 6 p.m. virtually. We were joined by Brandon Langer from the MCIU's Director of Innovation and Strategic Partnerships. He shared an overview of a new student advocacy initiative called Voices for Education. This program began just this past January, so only a couple months old. Students have had the opportunity to interact with legislators, a county commissioner, and a school superintendent already this spring. The group will be taking their learning and applying it during a visit to the Capitol on June 3rd. Springford is not part of this yet, but it's going to expand to other school districts next year, so more to come on that. The group also discussed several key legislative topics, and I know Dr. Wright was here too at the legislative breakfast, so she might want to add some things. But we talked about cyber charter reform, which has been a frequent topic that we've talked about at this table, and I know that I've brought up. I'll get into that in just a second. We also talked about there being momentum on both sides of the aisle to make some changes to that and implement the cap this year. The cap is $8,000 as proposed right now. This is something that we have to keep messaging on the topic. Cyber charter costs us millions of dollars per year just in our own district, so something definitely top of mind. The next, I will say, I'll talk about the legislative breakfast briefly, and then I'll mention the next meeting. But during the meeting, we also talked about unfunded mandates, concerns around Title III, Medicaid, E-rate, and ESSER extensions. Some of these topics came up during the legislative breakfast, which was held on Friday. During that breakfast, there were a number of different presentations, and it was a great format. It went through federal funding, state funding, and like some of the local concerns, and there were different superintendents and legislators that spoke at that meeting. I know one of the things that I took away was just some of the things that we can work collectively on across the aisles to have stronger student outcomes, so like cyber charter, among other things. I didn't know, Dr. Wright, if you wanted to add anything since you were also at the breakfast.
Right. No, you did a very good job there. I think one of the things that, to expand on what you were saying, is that when we're looking at things like our budget here in Springford,
Yes.
that the cost of things going up, the money that we pay for cyber charter schools, that's where, if you want your taxes not to go up, that's where you need to do, is to vote and pressure your legislators, doesn't matter what party, those in Harrisburg, because cyber charter schools do not have a brick and mortar building. We are only allowed to keep capital funds of like 8% of our budget that we can hold on to like a savings. They have millions that they're keeping. This is your taxpayer money. And what we could do with that money, with our budget here, if we could get a piece of that back. There's a place for cyber charter, and there's a place for charter, but this is ridiculous what the amount of money that they are getting for our students. But it costs them. They're making money hand over fist, so.
Yeah, maybe to that point, the legislative panel we were joined by, which was bipartisan, was Representative Matt Bradford, Representative Donna Shuren and Representative Joe Cerisi, and they did talk about that. So just the idea that, you know, school choice remains important, but the idea of keeping the cost reasonable for our taxpayers and tied to student outcome. So in any case, the next meeting, so I'm toggling between screens, the next meeting will be May 7th at 6 o'clock. Any other questions or comments? No.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Westwood. Moving on, Mrs. Goldsmith, PSBA.
Sure, just a couple things. One, PSBA is offering a course, and it's actually a asynchronous course that runs, the first cohort runs from June 16th through August, about foundational AI and for school leaders. And it's aimed at helping school leaders to learn how to use AI to enhance decision-making and administrative processes. In addition, we've talked a lot about Advocacy Day on May 13th. Registration for that does close this Friday. So if you are planning to go, please register by this Friday. And it's that time of year where PSBA input, so any board members can, if they desire, provide some feedback in terms of bylaws, amendments, and the legislative platform. Those all have to be done relatively shortly. So if you are interested, it's at the end of June, June 27th. Please let me know, and we will make sure to get those proposals to PSBA. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Goldsmith. And I think right around that time, so there's, you know, multiple steps. First is giving the feedback on those bylaws, but then we'll be looking for some board members to potentially attend the delegate assembly. I think last year it was, I forget who, it was Heidi, Mrs. Westwood, and myself, but if anyone else has an interest, it's always interesting to hear from board directors across the state. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, moving on, Mr. Lackey, Spring City American Legion.
Spring City American Legion baseball met on Thursday, March 27th. There are a few items I want to bring back to the board. League tryouts took place on March 29th and 30th with higher turnout than last year. As a result, both junior and senior teams have been filled. The new outfield signs were put up in Rams Stadium on the morning of April 2nd, so that's exciting. As far as field maintenance, the Legion is looking into replacing the protective barrier on top of the outfield wall, which has degraded over time. More to come on that in the future. A quick reminder, the Legion is hosting a regional tournament on July 18th to the 22nd at Rams Stadium. This tournament will be a total of 14 games taking place over a span of 5 days. The next meeting will be on Thursday, May 22nd, and that concludes my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Mr. Lackey? Okay, Mr. Rizzo.
Yes, thank you. Just a reminder, and I believe it was already mentioned, but the 5K is going to be hosted, the Spring Forward Ed Foundation 5K is going to be hosted on Friday the 16th on the campus of the 10th through 12th grade center. This year promises to be larger even than last year's. The 5K supports two amazing events, which is why I'm mentioning it, held annually, which is the Impact Awards and the Decision Day. So coming up next Wednesday, the 5K supports Spring Forward's annual Impact Awards, held each spring, which is an opportunity for seniors to nominate any Spring Forward employee that has had an impact on their lives. This year's Impact Awards ceremony is being held next Wednesday, May 7th. And then Decision Day, which is an incredibly amazing opportunity. Educational Foundation, again, supports this. That's going to be held this Thursday, May 1st. Decision Day is open to all graduating seniors, along with their parents, to celebrate this important milestone, whether they are entering the workforce, serving our country, or attending a 2- or 4-year college. We look forward to celebrating their futures and the decisions that they make as they move forward. And my last announcement is we have one retiree on the agenda, Clyde Kring, head custodian of Oaks Elementary School with 17 years of service. We wish him well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Fitzgerald, Solicitor's Report.
Yes, and good evening. Just an update. Since we met last Tuesday, there was a pretty significant federal court case that has implications for Spring Forward involving a series of executive orders that have been coming down over the last several months. And this was the specific executive order and dear colleague letter surrounding what was deemed illegal DEI practices in schools and adherence to Title VI. For those that have been following along, there was first the order, then there was the dear colleague letter, and then there was, within the last 3 weeks, a commitment notice that went out to all the state education agencies and potentially to all the local education agencies to have to commit to not practicing an illegal DEI and not violating Title VI. Well, on Thursday, a federal court in New Hampshire enjoined the U.S. Department of Education from implementing or enforcing those regulations. The plaintiff in the case, the most prominent plaintiff, was the National Education Association. And their argument really had little to do with the substance of what the government was proposing. It was essentially that they got the procedures wrong, that the initiatives were vague, that they didn't follow the Administrative Procedures Act, and that there were some First Amendment violations. The court sided with the National Education Association, and in doing so, they directed that any school district that has an affiliate of the National Education Association would be then part of this injunction. In other words, the government can't force any of their rules and regs in those schools. Well, Spring-Ford has the Spring-Ford Education Association, which is affiliated with the Pennsylvania State Education Association, which is affiliated with the National Education Association. So, like most districts in this county, the injunction now takes effect for Spring-Ford, and at least for the foreseeable future.
Any questions or comments? All right, thank you for the update, Mr. Fitzgerald. Okay, so moving on to the voting portion of our meeting. As the public knows, we discussed these items last week at our work session. We had quite a long meeting last week, so I don't know that we'll have any outstanding questions, but if we do, please feel free to raise them. So, Section 5 minutes, A and B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion, Mrs. Goldsmith. Mrs. Goldsmith, what is your vote?
Aye, sorry.
No worries. Okay, so that motion carries 8-1. I'm sorry, I apologize. So, no, Dr. Sharma is not here. I cannot do math today. So 8-0, excuse me. Moving on, we'll do personnel, letters A through P. I'll take a moment to see if you want to separate anything. Do I have a motion?
Well,
Oh,
no, go ahead. Motion first.
okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Yeah, I just want to step in very quickly and just wish Dr. Collier well. 10th through 12th grade building principal, he will be moving on. He's on here for resignation. And then I also want to acknowledge that Laurie Bickert has been gone for a few months now, and we at the Superintendent Suite are very happy to welcome Kristen Schmidt as a replacement for Laurie Bickert, both as the Superintendent Secretary, but also as the Board Secretary, which will take place soon. She is not here tonight, but we welcome her. She's going to be a wonderful addition to our team. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Rizzo. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to finance, section 7. letter-
Mrs. Hermans, do you want to get,
Yes, Mrs.
Sorry.
Goldsmith, my apologies. What is your vote?
It's aye.
Thank you, 8-0. Moving on to section, keep me honest, Ms. Grew. Moving on to section 7, finance, letters A through I. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second? Second. Questions and discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Mrs. Goldsmith?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to property, letters A through F.
Can we separate E, please?
Sure. Happy to separate E. Any others?
Can we separate B?
B is in boy. Okay, any others? Okay, so we're looking at section 8, property, letters A, C, D, and F. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Second. Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mrs. Goldsmith?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0. Moving on to Section 8, Letter B. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Questions or discussion?
I was just wondering, maybe very briefly, if Mr. Pellegrin could just speak to this, considering the number of communications and conversations we've had about the door situation in our schools.
Yeah, so what this is basically we looked at some of our interior secondary doors that are located when you walk into the first primary set of doors. We're looking at creating security for them doors, similar to some of our other schools.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any other comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that was a no from Mr. Jackson. Mrs. Goldsmith, what is your vote?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 7-1. Moving on to letter E, the playground installation at Spring City Elementary. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? Questions and discussion?
Yes. So my question about this regarding this $223,000 purchase of Spring City equipment is that I had asked, and the board had asked, for the cost that it would be for just to bring it up so that it was safe and repair it, and so that we could plan, make the decision whether to do that or not. That information was not provided to the board, and so therefore I did not see a cost for just bringing it up to standards. I saw information about it, but not a cost. Was that in the board memo?
There was information in the board memo about it. I didn't get a sense that there was a board directive to have somebody come in and give us an estimate on that. We provided the report as per the request for the board. If there was an interest in doing that, but I think what came out of that report was, given the age of it, any repairs would have just been pushing that cost down the road.
Right.
But I mean, if we want that, if the board wants that, we can delay this and do that. But I think we need to move forward.
Right. Well, and the question, what I saw from the report was what I was looking for was, as opposed to making this purchase at this time for $223,000, to see if, because right now with our budget, as we had discussed last week, we are, at over 4 or over 5%, talking about potentially referendums. And we need to, that came up at the last, it was mentioned at the table.
It's an option.
It is, right.
It's an option, and we
I
haven't
want to
discussed
clarify,
it in
there's
finance.
referendum exception and there's
Exception.
referendum, and they're two very different things.
Referendum
We are way past
exception.
referendum at this point.
Right, we voted to allow we voted back several months to allow referendum exceptions to go through if we wanted to. So anyway, I'm saying that, as you know, last week, that we are too far apart from where we need to get to that 4%. My understanding when we left the meeting last week was that we were going to find out the cost that it would be just for the safety, and and then so that we could look at this later on. I did not get that. I saw the report that was provided by the company, the audit that was provided by the company that we would be buying the playground equipment from. So this has nothing to do with the fact that I want Spring City to have everything that they can have. I want all of our students to have all of that. I just feel at this time that we don't have all the information that we need so that I could vote on this.
So I want to clarify, when you say we don't have all the information we need so you can vote, you mean I don't have all the information you need to be able to make a vote. I have all the information I need to be able to make a vote. And to be clear, I just want to clarify one thing for the public. When the words being used that we voted in January to allow for referendum exceptions to be used, no. We followed the Act 1 timeline as required and applied for referendum exceptions. There has been no conversation yet in terms of the levers that we will pull for the budget, which is on deck for finance in May, to have that more robust discussion. given we were just on the cusp of Mr. Fink's proposed final budget last week. So I just want to clarify for the community. I feel I have enough to vote. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the people on the board.
It was mentioned at the discussion of finance last week's meeting here that there was that a possibility always of referendum exception. And I will own the fact that I am only voting for myself and I don't feel that I have the information needed. However, there was at the meeting last week a desire by more than just me to have that additional information. I do not feel that it was provided enough for me to make the vote. So therefore, that is where I stand. I would have liked to have seen the number that it would have cost, and I did not see that. So.
If I may, I just find it interesting that we cherry pick. We're concerned about the budget, but we cherry pick items. If we were really concerned about the budget, the only items we would be approving are required operating cost. So I respect your position on this, Dr. Wright. However, Mr. Dan is not a consultant of an ADA consultant that could come in and define what is needed from a safety perspective. That is why we have hired that company to do that. I mean, we can sit here and peel the DNA of $233,000, which is a substantial amount of money, but so is every other thing we paid for here. So I just find it interesting that we cherry pick. With that being said, if you do not want to support this, and this is for the board, you vote no. But to sit here and make this the line of demarcation for concerns about the board, I think it's just cherry picking. We address the ask of the principal. They will define what they want. Property will go out and purchase that. I've said this numerous times before. This conversation needs to be held with the principal, because they are the ones that define what they want. They want 5 apples of blue, 3 apples of red, and 2 apples of purple. That's what we go out and buy.
But I'm not having the discussions with the principal. That's not my role. I'm here expressing my views.
Yes, but we're saying we want property to come back and present this to the board. What property will present to the board is what the principal has asked for. So that is why I say the shortest distance for this conversation is to have a conversation with the principal, and that can come through the administration. But to come and say Mr. Dan should come back and address this, it's just like the community complains about traffic after the homes are built here. If you're that concerned, you go to the township. This concern here should start with the people that make the decisions. And it could come through the administration, but that's where property stands on this.
Mrs. Westwood, you have a comment?
3 quick things. One, although I know not everyone could attend, Dr. Choi was at our property meeting last month, so I just mentioned that the principal did come to the meeting, so was available for questions. The second thing, and I've just noticed this more recently, first I'd say, love the zeal around being fiscally responsible, but there's a little bit of a feel, you call it cherry picking, I call it recency bias. There's a little bit of a, let's decide to, dig into the playground. I've been to Spring City 2 times since we've renovated, three times since we've renovated. That playground is a mess. There were 20-some pictures in our board memo detailing how much of a mess and how unsafe it is. And while every board member may not feel that they have the appropriate information to make a decision around cost, which I respect, that playground isn't safe, and I wouldn't want any of our children playing on it unless it's repaired. So that's just my personal opinion.
So are we closing it now if it's not safe to our community?
It's not. The school's been closed since since June. Yes, it is.
It is roped off.
You can go. Yes, I mean, if you want to drive by, it's under construction, or you can come to our next tour.
I will
our
also
next what? I'm sorry.
Tour.
The next tour before the school opens again in August.
And I will also say I want to thank our community members for sending pictures. That was unsolicited and unprompted, and it really, I think it's one thing to say that it's a mess, but it's another thing to see the visuals from families that attend that school. So I very much appreciate that. So anything else? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
No.
Mrs.
Opposed.
Goldsmith, what is your vote?
No.
Okay, so that motion carries 6-2. Moving on to programming and curriculum, letters A through H.
I have questions about B, C, and D. I don't
Do you-
know if you want to separate them.
Well, would you like me to separate them?
I don't know if you want to do them all together or as individuals.
Well, I'll separate what, you said B, C, and D? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any others? Okay, so we're looking at programming and curriculum, letters A, E, F, G, H. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 7-1. Moving on to, I will take them together unless anyone objects. You do object?
I don't, they're
Okay. Yeah, they're all related, so I'll take them all together. So moving on to section 9, letters B through D. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions and discussion?
This is Heidi.
So I
actually,
asked the question last week to clarify what they were, and I felt like we did a great job of that, but then conversations from my initial question kind of got, I don't know, went in different directions. So I guess what I want to know tonight is, are these independent items, can they be done individually, or is it one has to be done so that two can be done? You know, so that, you know, like in that order, can they be done independently?
Dr. Hill, did you hear that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So letter B, the E-rate Category 1 agreement, is the fiber that connects our buildings and is separate from C and D in that Category 1 is the connectivity, the internet service that connects our buildings. C and D are scheduled upgrades as part of our annual upgrade plan and will need to be done in conjunction so that warranty and support agreements will be in line.
Okay, thank you. And then for C, the cabling, I believe it was mentioned either in the curriculum report or at the meeting that some of this new cabling would be done in the 8th grade building. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, can I go to Mrs. Goldsmith? Yeah. Mrs. Goldsmith?
just for voting purposes, could we vote B separately than C and D?
Yes, we can do that. How should I take it? How do you want me to handle that, Mr. Fitzgerald?
So was this moved as in conjunction?
It was all together.
I think the cleanest way to do it would be to amend the current motion and to separate B from the current motion.
Okay.
So we are going to do an amendment to this motion to separate B from C and D.
Okay, so I'm going to ask someone to make an motion to amend the motion to separate B.
Correct.
Who would like to do that?
I'll make the motion.
I would like to make a motion to amend the motion to separate B.
That's fine. So we're just going to, B is going to be separate from the other two. That's fine. That makes sense.
And do we need to make public comment?
Yes.
Public comment on our separating B? Anyone who wishes to speak, please approach the podium with your name or township of residence. Okay.
Okay.
Button
Now we
times.
vote on the amendment.
Okay, so let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Is there anyone opposed to the amendment? Mrs. Goldsmith, what is your vote?
My vote is aye.
Okay, so the amendment passes 8-0. So now I'm going to focus solely on B, which is Category 1 agreement. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Questions and discussion only on B.
Just piggybacking on what Mrs. Deirdre said, Dr. Hill, I think this came up last week because you, or it came up in curriculum about in the 8th grade building. I thought you said something around if we put the fiber optic in, it could be reused or it could be auctioned, or like there was some, like, it wouldn't be a lost cost completely. Can you just clarify, please?
Oh, absolutely. So for B only, this is connectivity among all of our buildings. So this provides internet and data services for all of our buildings. It's dark fiber in the ground and on the poles, and we lease that to provide connectivity for our buildings.
Thank you. And just one other quick thing, I'll just apply this one to B for now. The concern that I have, and this came up last week, and I also asked this during curriculum, is just, I like the idea of the project, obviously, and it's attractive to have the 50% rebate, and also for the return to the district. My concern is the decision on E-rate and that being stuck in our courts, and potentially, I think, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said you weren't expecting a decision until summer. So my concern is the timing of this, and I'm worried about the district potentially not getting the 50% back. Well, you don't have to comment, but that's my concern.
Well, last week when I asked that question, the response was August.
I thought the response was, we don't know what the future holds. Is that not, Mr. Fitzgerald?
I think that's fair to say. I mean, the arguments are before the courts. A decision is likely late spring, early summer. So I would say we're going to hear something probably in June as to whether the program persists or not.
So that's my concern. Like, if the program doesn't persist, do we still get the money back?
I believe we indicated, and we indicated last week that I'm not anticipating a clawback of money spent prior to a decision. So, but again, the crystal ball is still out there in terms of what 9 justices will be doing.
All right, so is there any other questions on B? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
No.
No.
Mrs. Goldsmith, what is your vote?
My vote is aye for B.
So for B, we have the motion carrying 6-2. Moving on to C and D. I will take them together unless I hear a desire to separate. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
Mrs. Goldsmith, what is your vote?
No.
Motion carries 5-3. There's 3. Who was the no?
3 here and 1 online. It's 4.
So my apologies. Can I have a roll call just so I clear who? Let's just do a roll call. It was Dr. Wright? Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mrs. Deerdorf? No. Mrs. Westwood? Can you use your mic so the community can hear you?
No.
Thank you. Mrs. Weingarten?
Yes.
Yes.
And then Mrs. Goldsmith?
No.
Okay, so that motion does not carry. That's 4-4. All right, moving on to, let's see, we have other business, letters B through E. Do I have a motion? So moved. A second? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions and discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Goldsmith, what's your vote?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. There are some informational items that we acknowledged last week, and we're moving on to board comment. Does anyone have board comment?
Yes. I just wanted to make the board aware that The Springford Youth Football League's agreement for renewal is up at the end of June. That that I am working along with some other people with the members of the Springford Youth Football League to pull that together so that we can take a look at a vote on that hopefully next month. We'll be able to. So you can just look for more information coming. As those that are not familiar with the Springford Youth Football League, it's a separate entity, but it serves, I believe, over 300 of our students. And it's wonderful for football and for cheer. But they have a facility on our property, so similar to the Spring City Baseball, the league, the American Legion, we have an agreement with them so that we can work cooperatively together to provide our students with this service. So you can look for that to come.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. And again, thank you for your efforts along with Mrs. Goldsmith and Mr. Lackey. I know that you've been working diligently with Mr. Fink on the negotiations with the association, so thank you. Any other board comment?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to take a minute to congratulate Catherine Mull. She won, let me pull it up so I don't mess it up. Her performance in the how do you say this? NAFME, All Eastern Concert Band. It features students selected from all state bands in Connecticut, Delaware, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. She was selected to represent Pennsylvania, based on her placement in the PMEA, is how you say that, right? Yeah, I'm learning. All-state band and a rigorous audition process. In addition, she's gone above and beyond with her work in the Springford Music Program as a phenomenal flute player, student leader, and drum major, and a good human. So I just want to take a moment to congratulate her. I know it's been on our social pages, but it's a huge accomplishment. So congratulations, Catherine.
Thank you. Any other board comment?
I guess I just want to ask for some clarification on the motion that didn't pass 4-4. Are we saying we're not supporting the work or we're not supporting the reimbursement? I think Dr. Hilt probably needs some clarification.
For me personally, I just don't support the timing. I'm just worried about the reimbursement. It's just me.
So you don't support the work?
I do support the work. I just want to make sure the district's going to get the money back, and I worry without having the court decision. I know you said that typically it's not clawed back, but we're not in typical time, so I don't take anything for granted. So I would want to know for sure that we're going to get the money back.
What about the rest of you? Any clarity for Dr. Hilt that voted no?
I don't support the work. As I mentioned last week, I asked a simple question: if would the district fall down if we didn't implement this change? The brackets are just hardware. The fiber optic is the most important part of the connectivity. So I do not support this work at all.
Mrs. Goldsmith?
I don't support the work at this time.
Sorry, can you say that again without Mr. Rizzo's mic on?
Sure. I don't support the work going forward at this time.
Okay, well then based on this, then Dr. Hilt's directive from the board is that he is not going to be doing the cabling or the hardware adjustments for the upcoming school year. Just making sure we're clear on that. Okay, Dr. Hilt, you have any other questions about that? Okay, thanks.
So I have a question, and I don't intend to muddy this, but it probably will muddy this. If we had 4 people that said that they voted yes, and we have Ms. Westwood that says, I voted no, but I support the work, is that not the will of the board? 5 people that would support the work?
No.
Well, not on the vote, no.
Correct.
I mean,
Go ahead. Mr. Fitzgerald, just
yeah, I mean, the vote as presented failed. Certainly,
Correct.
I understand the position that Ms. Westwood noted, but in terms of direction, this failed. I mean, it would have to come back as a separate
It would have to
motion.
come back once there's clarity for someone like Mrs. Westwood to feel comfortable with
Correct.
voting. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that I can echo that sentiment, is that it's not that I don't support it right now, like Ms. Goldsmith said. I don't think it's forever. I know there's a deadline, but it's just, the way that it's presented, I don't have that comfort level to say yes on that.
Okay, so then potentially we might see it as an action item down the road once we
Yeah,
get clarity.
and I would
Okay.
support
And nothing prevents this from coming at a separate board meeting for consideration.
Yep, perfect, thank you.
So can I just ask for clarification? Am I hearing the board say that it's okay for us to bring this back without E-rate? The work back without E-rate?
It's a no from me.
No, because we get the 50% rebate from E-rate on all three of those items, which Dr. Hilt would know the math because how you came up with the numbers for the district savings, but I would imagine that would not be the same savings for us with the 50% on all three of those items not being received.
All right, thank you.
Can I ask a clarifying question, not about just procedurally? So typically when people vote no, is it every time we're going to be asked on the spot to answer why we answered no? Because I don't recall that necessarily happening all the time.
Wow, okay, well, let me address that.
Yeah.
So, no, the question was around E-rate, it wasn't around the work. So I just wanted to make sure that the board understood that it's not about an E-rate thing at this point. That work is not going to get done. And I just wanted to make sure the board understood that, that's all. So no, whenever you vote something down, I will not question you unless we don't have the clarity that we need.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. So we're going to move on to public to be heard. This can be on any topics. If you would like to speak, please approach the podium with your name and township of residence, and don't forget to sign in. Okay, seeing as though no one is approaching the podium, motion to adjourn?